Hey guys, so I wanted to make a video on my home buying process. Yay. Have been getting a lot of people asking me, like, how did I go about buying a home? How was the process like? Things like that. And basically, like, how did I do it? I'm 23 now, but at the time I was 22. So I decided to make a video. So how it all started was I wanted to move out the house. And so instead of looking at apartments, I feel like there's not a lot of apartments in the PG County area. If there are, they're older. And I was looking to buy, and well, not buy, but lease a newer apartment. And so I decided, I was like, well, why don't I just rent out a townhome basically and just get some roommates? So I don't know if you guys know where Westphalia Row is. It's right off of the Beltway, off of Brown Station Road in Upper Marlboro. I looked over there and I filled out an application to rent out a home, and I actually got denied. And I was really disappointed because I really liked that home. And basically, my mom was like, "Well, why are you looking to rent when you could just buy a house for the same price that you're renting?" So I was like, "Oh, true, okay." So I actually went into the leasing office. The sales office at Westphalia Road in Upper Marlboro. And basically, the salesperson made me become familiar with a bunch of programs in the Prince George's County area that gives you help towards your down payment for first-time home buyers. So after knowing that, I actually started to look down Pennsylvania Avenue further into Westphalia, which is still Upper Marlboro. I'm not sure if you guys know Westphalia, but Westphalia is a huge, huge, huge community off of Pennsylvania Avenue. They've been building for like 6 years, and they're still building. They still have a lot to go. Like that community is huge. So I actually found a house that I loved over there. It was a spec home. It was in unit, everything that I wanted. It was perfect. So I put a down payment on it, and I had to basically fill out an application to get money from the state. And so I remember this day perfectly. I want to say the program is called like the LIFT program or something like that. If you guys message me, I'll tell you all about all the programs. And I was actually at work that day, and I was supposed to go online like exactly 9 o'clock, fill out this application so I can get like $20,000. It seems simple, but you just have to basically be on time. I was at work that day, and I got on exactly 9 o'clock, filled out the application. But come to find out, my application was never filled out because there was like a link that needed to be pressed, and the link didn't become available till like 9:03. Mind you, they told me to get on at 9 o'clock, and that's exactly what I did. So instead of being too late, I was actually too early. I never got that money. So the loan officer there basically told me, like, well, since I didn't get the money, I would have to be putting like $70,000 down. And I was all this crazy like money, and I was like, what? Like, I don't have $70,000. So I had to actually let go of that home, which was really upsetting because I really love that area. I was like, oh, this is not too far from my parents. It's not too far from the Beltway. I can get to work if I go down Suitland Parkway. Like, it was, I really liked it. Like I said, God does everything for a reason. So then I proceeded to look at other homes. So I want to tell you guys, so I have like basically like a couple of things that I want to run down. So when you're looking for a home, location is very important. So I was looking at Upper Marlboro, Lanham, Bowie, Greenbelt, and honestly, a lot of those areas are going to be way more expensive. They have a name for themselves, so they're going to be more expensive, to let you know. If you guys looking like Waldorf, I know that a lot of people think Waldorf is far, but so many people live in Waldorf because of the fact that it's cheap. It's super cheap. Now, I don't live in Waldorf, but just know it's super cheap. You're gonna get a bang for your buck in Waldorf, and that's why people live in Waldorf. And then I also looked in areas like Landover and Suitland because they were building new townhouses, and they were cheaper. However, and this is why I always say, like, listen to your parents, guys, because I know you guys don't want to listen, but listen to your parents. My parents were saying that buying a house in those neighborhoods weren't going to be beneficial to me in the end because of the equity. They were basically saying like that area is not hood, but it kind of is. So they were telling me like I wouldn't get any equity in my home if I were later trying to sell the home. So they did not want me to look in areas like those. I was honestly, I didn't have a certain type of home that I was looking for. So there are like a couple major builders for townhouses, which are Ryan Homes, Stanley Martin, Dan Ryan, Midtown. Those are just a couple really big builders for townhomes. And they all vary, of course, according to price. But of course, Ryan Home has had their name for years. But I wasn't still specifically looking at a Ryan Home. But I did want a 3-bedroom, 2-car garage. And the reason, so honestly, they're building a lot of 1-car garage homes nowadays. But my parents felt that buying a 2-car garage would be beneficial for, again, equity. Just because most people who buy homes are families, they're not single people, and they have more than 1 car. So that's exactly why I was looking for a 2-car garage. So I wanted those things. And then most townhouses range from anywhere from like 1,800 square feet to like 24-ish. Also, a lot of these townhouses areas have condos as well. Condos are great options. However, just keep in mind that there is a such thing as condo fees. Condo fees can range anywhere from like $200, $300. And honestly, by the time you add that on top of your mortgage, you're basically paying the same for a townhouse. So that's why I wanted a townhouse. In case you all are wondering where I live, because I have a lot of people like, where do you live? I live in Brandywine. I am familiar with the Brandywine area just because I grew up in Fort Washington. But the Brandywine area has like, I heard there's like a Charles County side. I live in PG County. I've always known Brandywine to be Prince George's County. Like Wynn Park High School that's Prince George's County. But apparently there's like a Charles County side. Not sure which way that is. But yeah. So that's just one thing to keep in mind when looking for a home. It's just really location. You don't want to buy somewhere where it's super expensive. Well, if you have the money, you can. But you don't want to buy somewhere else in an area that hasn't really fully developed yet. Also, keep in mind townhouses have HOAs. Most, I'd say like almost 100% of townhouse communities have HOAs. HOAs really depend on how much the community has to offer. I've seen a community where they didn't have much to offer, so it was as low as like $50, but I've seen some communities as high as like $130. Personally, my community, they have a park, they're gonna have a clubhouse and a community. So my HOA is not that high, but it's not that low either. So first things first. When you purchase a home, the first thing you do is you give them a deposit, basically. Deposits usually are like $2,500. I feel like I never had anyone that was higher or lower than that. It's like $2,500. Then what they do is, and just know this is the stressful part, they will know your entire life. I'm telling y'all that now, so don't be shocked when you try and purchase your home. You have to give them bank statements. You have to give them pay stubs. You have to give them like they'll know every ounce, every cent that you make or that somebody cash apps you, basically. So it's a lot. They have to know how much debt you have. So this is honestly the most important factor into buying a home. Know how much your debt to income ratio is. So most communities, most builders want a debt to income ratio at least like 47% or below. I've seen the highest of like 49%, but it's never above 50. So your debt to income ratio is basically how much debt do you have that adds on top of the mortgage, that basically it's like proportionate to your income. So let's say you make $5,000. Oh, and keep in mind, everything for a home is before taxes, not after taxes. So you don't have to worry like, oh, after taxes I make this. Everything is before taxes. So let's say you make $5,000 a month and your mortgage is $2,000 and your car note is $400 and you're paying $200 for your student loan. So basically they add all of that up and see how much it is basically at a ratio to how much you make. Also, another thing is, so I'm not sure about y'all, but my student loans are in deferment. I am in graduate school. I've been in graduate school for basically a year now. So when you're in school, you can have your loans in deferment, meaning you do not have to pay a cent to it until after you graduate from the school that you're in. So basically, I don't have to pay, even though I don't have to pay on my student loans until after I graduate with my master's. So when your student loans are in deferment, they have to take 1% of that loan for an average, let's say, monthly payment, because they want to see how much you would have to pay if those student loans were not in deferment. So they take 1% of that. Also, do keep in mind, if you want to buy your house, I mean, people buy houses with a credit score of like 6 something, but just letting y'all know, y'all don't want to buy a house without your credit score at least being at like 700, because if it's below that, they're going to have to put so many fees on top of that, you just might as well wait. So please, 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 please have a credit score of above 700. Watch videos and stuff about how you can get your credit score higher. I don't have time really to talk about credit because there's a lot about that credit has to do with. But yes, have it above at least like 700, please. Also, you are supposed to have 2 years of experience in basically what you do for a living. So for instance, and my situation is different. How do you call it, where you're like the exception, not the rule? So basically my situation was the exception, not the rule. Let's say you're a bank teller. You need to at least have been a bank teller for 2 years, because they need to show that your income is consistent, that you're not hopping around from bank teller to a nurse to a firefighter. So basically you have to have 2 years of experience. All of you know are thinking, well, you don't have 2 years of experience as a nurse. I don't. I almost do now, but I don't. So basically, I was the exception because throughout my college career, I was still working in healthcare. Although I was not a nurse, I have been working in healthcare throughout my whole college career. I've worked at several doctors' offices, and then a lot of you know I worked in the ER my senior year of college. So like I said, I was the exception, not the rule. So even though I have not been a nurse for 2 years, they did not care. Honestly, I feel like it wasn't even questioned because they saw that I had been in healthcare for so long. But if you were not working in college or in the same field, you might want to wait until you have had at least 2 years of experience in what you do.